Chapter 22, where Day 2 passes and Mo fights Charlotte. Mo was holding his fake tail in his claws, swinging it like a sword, while Aaron was sitting on their hay bed and watched. "You know, Charlotte's is bigger than yours," Aaron said to Mo. "I read something yesterday," Mo answered. "A book about plant-type attacks. Very interesting. I have an idea how beat her." Mo smacked his tail on his palm as a demonstration to Aaron. "Literally," Mo said, and his eyes glow up. He could tell Aaron shuddered. The door to their opened and Steve rolled in. "Mo, the fight will start now. Are you ready?" Mo attached his tail back and nodded silently. He and Aaron followed Steve down the corridor to the entrance hall. There everyone were already waiting for him. The ring where the fight was about to take place was simply a huge circle drawn with chalk, with the guild members and their two guests, Amy's mother and Nai's father. Mo felt a cold shiver and his heart starting to race. Charlotte appeared out of the crowd and entered the ring. She looked calmly as always. Both Mo and Charlotte stood in the ring, waiting, looking at each other in silence. Mo looked around to see the spectators. Some were more excited than others to see what will now happen. "I have many Pokémon to disappoint," Mo thought to himself. Alphonse entered the ring as well and stood between the Mimikyu and the Quamala. "Well then, I want to see a fair fight," Alphonse declared. "The fight starts on my command. No use of items or help from others. The battle is won once one of you is knocked out, give up or leaves the marked area for more than 10 seconds. He paused for a moment. "This is a friendly contest. I want it to be fair, and I want you two to respect each other. Got it?" "Yes, sir," Mo answered. "Got it?" Alphonse said, looking at Charlotte, who was still silent. Charlotte gave him a thumb up. "Good. Take your positions," Alphonse declared and left the ring, observing it together with Heidi from the other side. Both Pokémon took a few steps back. Mo was still thinking about how he should start this fight. "Ready?" Alphonse called out. "Go." Mo wanted to attack from the distance first and charged up his Thunderbolt. But right after the fight officially began, Charlotte rolled towards Mo with high speed, performing her rollout move. Not expecting this, Mo just barely managed to jump over the Quamala as she rolled on, and he landed flat on the ground. Mo picked himself up to see where Charlotte was now. She was still rolling and also almost rolled over Aaron, who was only a feet away. Rolling down the hallway, down the team rooms, still very fast. 1, 2, 3. Alphonse began to count. Charlotte was way over the marked area. Alphonse sounded seemingly surprised that the very first fight would start with an out of bounds. And so seemed everyone else. Halfway down the corridor, Charlotte took a sharp turn and rolled back with the exact same speed. Mo stepped back a little and prepared to do his Thunderbolt again. As Charlotte rolled over the line, back into the ring, still aimed directly at him, Mo used his attack and directly hit his team leader. She continued rolling fast, but lost control after being hit. She almost hit him, but only almost, and tumbled across the whole ring, again leaving the marked line, and finally came to a stop as she bumped into one of the three Poniard, who was unlucky to stand there, knocking him out. "It's all fine," Alphonse declared. "The fight is still going." He then began his counting again while non-verbally ordering Heidi to look for the probably injured Poniard. Charlotte slowly rolled back into the ring, still clenching on her log and seemingly uninterested. "Don't expect me to go easy on you, just because we are partners," Mo told in an angered tone. To this, Charlotte replied with a smile. "Can you do the same? 'Cause you've got a thing for me," he mocked her. And with that, the smile was gone. Charlotte grabbed her log even tighter and began to spin around on the spot, her legs swinging through the air. Out of nowhere she jumped high into the air, made somersault and landed right in front of Mo. Her log now completely blocked Mo's vision. Mo took a few steps back. You think that scares me? You have no idea how scary I can be. A dark aura appeared around Mo's fake wooden tail and it began to grow steady, until it was triple the size of before. Turns out, all those times I used wood hammer it was not the way my kind intended to. Mo explained, followed by an evil laugh that was more intended to sound cliché. Mo dashed forward to Charlotte and took a 180 degrees turn, swinging his now huge wooden tail around. His attack hit Charlotte, or more like her log, which glowed up in a bright green light, used like a shield. Mo pushed his tail against her log, but she didn't even move an inch. Mo jumped up and swung his tail down onto her like a club. Again, Charlotte managed to protect herself with her log. You know, Charlotte, how about a little bet? Mo suggested to her mid-battle. If I win, I'll be the new leader of Team Purple. Charlotte responded by pushing Mo backwards with her log, making some space between them. Mo took off his fake tail and held it in his right claw like a longsword. Despite not directly being attached to his body anymore, it was still large and filled with dark energy. I know, back then we all agreed you could be leader, but only because neither Aaron nor me wanted to. With you in your state I thought it would be more like a democracy. But then I thought, before Mo finished his sentence, he dashed forward and swung his tail, only to be blocked by Charlotte's log again. Again, Charlotte pushed Mo away, this time almost making him lose his balance. In this moment of lack of concentration Charlotte swung her log around, slapping it right across Mo's fake head. With a loud snapping sound, Mo's fake head bent over in an unhealthy-looking way, touching the ground with one of his fake ears and slightly blocking Mo's vision while also unbalancing him. In a mix of shock, anger, and sadness, but mostly anger, Mo realized his disguise has been damaged. Mo looked at Charlotte, intentionally trying to give her the meanest look he has. You should not have done this, he told her. Mo's threat did have any effect. Charlotte smacked him again, this time on his actual head. That's it, Mo shouted and again swung his tail at Charlotte, only to be blocked again. This time, as he was pressing his tail against her log, Mo managed to grab on of her legs with his other claw. Mo released his thunderbolt on Charlotte. Sparks and lightning surrounded him and her and sparked across the air, threatening to also hit others. Still being electrocuted, Charlotte grabbed Mo's ear and threw him away from her, landing right behind her and also stopping his attack as he let go of her leg. Attempting to smack him again, Mo blocked her attack this time and broke through her defense. Taking this chance, Mo swung his tail and hit it directly in her stomach, making the normally mute koala grunt in pain. Instead of flying away or falling over, Charlotte still stood on both legs, shaking from Mo's attack and drooling from her mouth. Still seeing himself on the higher ground and having no intention to show her any mercy, Mo swung his tail again, this time hitting her head. Charlotte flew through the air this time. Her log fell off her hands and began rolling around in small circles on the ground. Charlotte landed in front of King Cameli, but still inside the ring. The king himself was kind of enjoying what he was seeing. Mo, still holding his tail, approached Charlotte. Mo felt exhausted and could not keep up the size of his tail. It shrunk back to its normal size, but was still glowing in a dark aura. Mo only had Charlotte in mind now. He could not see any of the spectators, what they were thinking, if they enjoyed what they were seeing. Mo stood right at the koala, waiting for Alphonse to declare him winner, as Charlotte was not able to fight anymore. Or so he thought. Shaking and clearly in pain, Charlotte slowly tried to get herself up again. Mo wouldn't have any of this. She should not be leader anymore. She should stop annoying Mo and invade his personal space. And she should pay for damaging his cloth. Mo hit her on her back with his tail, making her fall to the ground again where she laid before. As she tried to get up again, he also hit her again. And again. And again. Just stay down, Mo ordered her, his eyes glowing and the same dark aura also appearing around his body as it was with his tail. His tail began to grow again. If this wouldn't finish this, nothing will. As Charlotte tried to get back up jet again, Mo prepared to strike her down. On last time. Aiming her head. Stop it. This is going too far. Aflons called out in terror and was about to enter the ring himself. As Mo was about to strike, Charlotte grabbed his tail with one hand, stopping him from harming her. To his disbelief, Mo could not move his tail away from her anymore. Despite trying to strike her with all his force, Charlotte still managed to hold him with only one hand. Charlotte picked up Mo from the ground, both still holding his tail. "Let go of me," Mo shouted and tried to free his tail. Charlotte appeared harmed, but still in her emotionless, sleeping state. Mo was confused how she could still stand. Mo began to wonder what Charlotte was really capable of. Was she holding back all this time? Charlotte swung Mo's tail around with Mo still on it. Mo could hold on any longer and was thrown away, followed by his tail that Charlotte also threw away, not so far away from where Mo landed. Mo got up as quickly as possible and rushed to his tail. Meanwhile, Charlotte got her log again and rushed to Mo's tail as well. Mo reached out to his tail with his right claw. Just before he was near enough to lay hand on his tail, Charlotte smashed the lower end of her log directly on Mo's claw, making a slamming noise that echoed through the hall. Mo felt a strong, very strong, stinging pain in his claw. It was hard for him not to scream in pain right now. Charlotte lifted up her log and Mo could pull his claw back. It was swollen and pulsated. Mo looked at it in shock and tried to make a fist with it. He could not, and moving just made it hurt even more. At this moment he was confused. He noticed too late that in this short time span Charlotte rolled over to him and swung her log fast and hard, hitting Mo directly where his real face was. Mo only saw Charlotte swinging her log directly in his facial direction, and then he literally flew across the hall, hitting the upper side of the wall where Charlotte hit one of Team Orange's members before, and made a Mimikyu-shaped crater upon impact. Mo fell out of his hole to the ground, the other guild members around him in shock of what happened. To his own surprise, he didn't felt any pain whatsoever. His claw even didn't hurt anymore for some reason. He just felt a little dizzy and constantly heard a whistling sound, as if someone was standing right behind him with a pipe. While Alphonse started his counting again, Mo walked past Heidi and Team Orange back into the ring. A dark aura surrounded his body and his eyes glow. He certainly wasn't done with her just yet. Now he just wanted to beat her into submission. She had to pay for humiliating him like this in front of everyone. Suddenly, everything went very dark and very quiet around Mo. Only darkness. No feelings. For Mo, this darkness only lasted for about 2 seconds. He slowly woke up. His vision was blurry and he could only see light and darkness at first. He had no idea where he was right now or what has happened. One thing he then immediately noticed was everything was hurting. Literally anything in his body. Especially his right claw. He looked around to see where he was. He saw someone standing in front of him. His vision was too blurry and his mind too dizzy to see who it was. "How do you feel?" the Pokémon asked him. Mo could not say who it was by the voice, but it was definitely a male Pokémon. "Terrible. Just terrible," Mo moaned. "Where am I?" "In our room," the Pokémon answered all casually. Mo, who also just realized he laid on his back, tried to get up, but it hurt so badly. "I'm not done yet. I won't give up," Mo told him. From his point of view he could still fight. "The fight already ended. You were knocked out and Charlotte won," the Pokémon explained to him. Mo felt ashamed of himself. The battle ended like this. He also just saw the Pokémon he was talking to was pink. "Anything else I should know?" Mo asked him. "When will the other fight start?" I was kind of looking forward to see the fights with Aaron and Steve. The other Pokémon didn't said anything for a while. Sorry, but all the fights are over now. You've been out of commission for the past 4 hours. 4 hours? Mo thought to himself in disbelief. Officially the day was ruined. And Aaron? How did he fought? Mo asked. Again, the Pokémon was quiet for a while. Mo saw him getting closer. Mo. It's me. The pink one said. Now Mo was confused. He violently shook his head to clear his mind. His vision bettered, but was still too blurry to properly see. Mo finally recognized his friend, but something was different. Aaron? You look terrible. What happened? Mo expressed himself. Aaron was covered in bruises all over his body. He looked like he fell down the stairs more than once. It hurt to look at it. I lost versus one of the twins, Aaron said and laughed. Have you tried fighting a boulder? These guys make good guards. Mo could not tell if Aaron was in pain and did also not knew what to say to it. If he should say something. Where is Charlotte? Is she mad at me? Mo asked to change the subject. He feared the worst. Aaron picked Mo up with his ribbons and turned him only a little to his right. There she stood, the whole time, judging Mo silently, her torso in bandages. Mo could not recognize her facial expression, and he sure didn't want to. There they were, looking at each other in silence. Mo didn't dare to say anything. At the moment he was too nervous and too dizzy to think of something. Charlotte picked up a sign, wrote something on it and showed it to him. Mo's vision was still too bad to read words. Mo turned to Aaron. What does it say? He asked him. I better not tell you, he answered. As Mo looked back at Charlotte he just saw her sign flying towards him, hitting him. Charlotte rolled out of the room. Aaron, I think I messed up big time, Mo said. There. It'll be all right. I promise, Aaron answered. Suddenly, the door opened again with a loud slamming noise. There he stood, Alphonse. Mo could not see his facial expression, but could still tell that he was definitely not in a good mood. Where is he? The Deliberate shouted in rage. Mo lifted a finger. To my defense, you were the only who made us fight.